Good morning, all. I am Jackie Taylor, Strategic Partnerships Coordinator with the South Carolina Department of Employment and Workforce, and I want to welcome you to the Partner Series. This is where we'll learn about the core and combined Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act state plan partner programs and other services agencies offer as supports to SC Works customers. During the series, we will hear from partners including vocational rehabilitation, South Carolina Commission for the Blind, adult education, and more each quarter. While much may be review, hopefully you'll learn something new. Today, we'll hear from the South Carolina Department of Social Services, a cabinet agency who is responsible for, among other things, assisting public assistance recipients in obtaining employment and becoming self-sufficient. Tammy James, Director of the Division of Employment Services, and Deborah Reed Cole, Director of the SNAP Employment and Training Program, will share about the SNAP Employment and Training Program, also known as SNAP GMP. Please ensure you're on mute, and also please save your questions to the end. The overview will last about 30 minutes with opportunities for questions during the remaining half of the hour. As you can see, this meeting is being recorded. The link to the recording and the PowerPoint will be sent in the next few business days as a follow-up to the meeting, while also being placed on SC Works Online Services staff online resources. So without further delay, Tammy and Deborah, you can take it away.
Good morning. Jackie, can you see the screen with the PowerPoint?
I can.
You can. Okay. I just wanted to make sure because on my end, I cannot see it. So good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us this morning. I want to go ahead and get started here. Let's proceed. So the DSS is a very large agency. We provide services such as child and adult protective services, child support, child care, and assistance programs like SNAP and TANF. The DSS mission statement is shown on your screen. To serve South Carolina by promoting the safety, permanency, and well-being of children and vulnerable adults, helping individuals achieve stability and strengthening families. And my division's role comes into play with that portion of the mission statement that is in bold, which is helping individuals achieve stability and strengthening families. And we do that through both the SNAP Employment and Training Program and the TANF Work Program. And you're going to hear more about both of those today. So the Division of Employment Services is comprised of 3 functional areas: the TANF Work Program, the SNAP Employment and Training Program, or SNAP EMT, and Workforce Development. The Division of Employment Services has 125 positions statewide, with the majority of those positions co-located in our SC Work centers across the state. We're going to share some information with you today about each of these areas, but want to spend the bulk of our time this morning with you talking about the SNAP Employment and Training Program and the array of services that are available in SNAP ENT, which would likely kind of supplement the work you're already doing with some of the customers you're already serving. So first, let's talk about TANF. TANF is a program that helps families obtain or regain financial independence. The employees in the TANF program work with TANF recipients to remediate barriers to employment as quickly as possible. And those barriers could be things such as domestic violence, mental health, substance abuse, a lack of work history, need for education, or any other issue that's preventing someone from becoming employed. DSS staff establish an agreed upon employment plan with the participants in the TANF program, which requires him or her to engage in specific activities designed to remediate those barriers within a specified period of time and as quickly as possible. And the need to do it as quickly as possible is because TANF is a time-limited program, and we must assist a participant with removing those barriers to employment from application all the way to self-sufficiency within 24 months. So we have to move pretty quickly in that program. And how do we do this? We do this first by providing cash assistance. The cash assistance is a monthly stipend received on a debit card for a predetermined amount each month. We can provide support services, which could include things like child care vouchers, transportation assistance, educational expenses, work-related expenses, or assistance with a variety of other items needed in the process of moving someone along that continuum of self-sufficiency. Our support services are not entitlements, and participants have to be engaged in activities as established and agreed upon on their employment plan in order to receive those support services. The activities could include things such as work experience, community service, on the job training, vocational education, or a whole host of other activities designed to remediate barriers to employment. So I'm actually going to turn it over now to Deborah Reed Cole, who's going to talk to you about the SNAP Employment and Training Program. And this is, again, the program that we want to kind of further share with you today because we believe the program can be of further support to the individuals that you may already be serving. So, Deborah?
Okay, well, thank you, Tammy, and good morning, everyone. So, I'm going to talk about one of the best programs that South Carolina Department of Social Services have to offer, and I'm being biased when I say that. But in order to describe the SNAP Employment and Training Program, I will be answering a series of questions. And the first question I would like to answer today is, what is the SNAP Employment and Training Program? So, the SNAP Employment and Training Program provides training and employment opportunities to SNAP households to increase their income in order to reduce their dependency on SNAP benefits and to lead to self sufficiency. And I'm going to talk to you about, well, who do we serve and why? So, the SNAP Employment and Training Program assists SNAP recipients, formerly known as food stamp recipients, who are unemployed or underemployed, who may need help with improving their skills in order to in order to obtain gainful employment. And how do we assist SNAP participants in becoming self sufficient? Well, the ENT program um, offers various training and educational components to assist participants in gaining the skills and education needed to become employed. So, one of our components is the work readiness component. Now, this component includes activities such as general skill building, developing good work habits, and other soft skills that establishes a link to job readiness. The education component can assist participants in obtaining a GED or a high school diploma. Clients can also receive English as a second language training and improve their basic literacy needs. The vocational training component provides short term certification training opportunities. So, since our goal is to assist clients in obtaining skills that will lead to quick jobs, allowable training courses must be less than 1 year. Participants can earn certificates and certifications in various areas. For example, a participant can receive a commercial driver's license, certification in phlebotomy, technology courses, certified nursing assistant, medical office assistant, security, and there are so many other vocational opportunities that are available to participants in the ENT program. The job retention component can assist participants after they become employed to keep their jobs by providing support services, transportation assistance, childcare, uniforms, and other support needs and support that they need in order to assist the client in maintaining their employment. The work fair and work experience components provide volunteer opportunities for SNAP ENT participants who have little or no work experience. These volunteer opportunities help the participants gain the experience and skills needed to enter the workforce with confidence and to maintain employment as well. Now, new to the ENT program for this federal fiscal year, the ENT program will be is actually offering on the job training program. Now, this program will allow the ENT program to work directly with employers to pay up to 80% of the training costs for newly hired ENT program participants. Now, with all that information, I know you want to ask me, how are we able to accomplish our goals? Well, the ENT program have statewide, regionally located employment and training coordinators who provide essential services for SNAP participants. They complete assessments, develop individualized employment plans. They provide case management. They refer clients for training opportunities. Our coordinators also provide I said case management, and they assist clients with finding employment. Okay. So the ultimate goal of the program is employment. The ENT program also contracts with various community based organizations, nonprofit organizations, state agencies, for profit organizations, and technical colleges throughout the state who provide free training for the SNAP ENT participants. Now, some of our partners are as follows. We partner with the South Carolina Department of Education, Palmetto Goodwill, United Ministries, Goodwill of Middle Georgia, Technical College of the Low Country, Spartanburg Community College, Florence Darlington Technical College, and that's just a few that I'm mentioning. We contract with so many more organizations throughout the state that literally provides all of the training and services needed to help our clients move from SNAP to self-sufficiency. Now, who can participate in the SNAP Employment and Training Program? Well, in order to qualify for the SNAP ENT program, the participants must have an open and active SNAP case. And when I say SNAP, food stamp case, and be able to work. That's very important because this is a work program. So they must be able to work. They must be 16 years of age or older and not attending high school and not receiving temporary assistance for needy families, which is TANF. And that is the program that Tammy described earlier. The ENT program is a voluntary program. Therefore, any SNAP only recipient is who is able to work may be eligible to participate. Well, let's talk about some barriers. Okay. So what happens if a client has barriers that may prevent them from participating in the program? So the ENT program provides support services in order to assist participants to overcome these barriers to employment. Some of the available support services offered is transportation assistance, one-time component costs, which consists of uniforms, tools, welding glasses, and other needed training items. Okay. Participants can receive up to 52 weeks of childcare, rental assistance for participants who are in danger of getting evicted is available. Technology support services for online training courses. Participants can receive a smartphone, a tablet, and internet access. We also assist them with paying, if they already have a phone, prepaid phones, we will assist them with paying for their costs for the prepaid phone that they already have. They can also receive personal protective equipment for in person instruction. Now, as mentioned earlier in my presentation, job retention services are also available. So, that is a support service that we provide. So, I guess you want to know now, are there any additional service we offered? Yes. So, case management is provided to all ENT participants. We also offer a Pathway Scholarship. So we have a Pathway Scholarship program. Now, these scholarships allow participants to attend training courses at accredited training programs outside of our regular partner agencies. So these scholarships will pay for tuition and books for SNAP ENT participants. The ENT program also offers the Start Smart Entrepreneurship Program. The ENT program partners with the South Carolina State University Small Business Center to provide training for participants who want to start their own businesses. So, now to refer a client to the SNAP Employment and Training Program, please send their name, contact information to our mailbox, which is snaptowork@dss.sc.gov. And I just want to thank you all for listening to me. And I will now turn it back over to Miss Tammy James.
Thank you, Deborah. The final portion of our division that we wanted to talk about today is the workforce development portion. And DSS has workforce consultant staff located statewide to dually serve the job seeker and local employers. DSS's workforce consultants work alongside partner organizations in the business services teams at the local level while also providing job placement services to TANF participants. DSS has a workforce consultant assigned to each of the comprehensive centers across the state and a few in satellite centers. And finally, we want to make sure that you know how to direct people to apply for these services. So we've told you a lot about the services that are available for participants that are in the programs, but we want to make sure that you know how to direct people who may or may not already be connected with DSS, and how they can apply for these services if they are interested. So you might be working with someone who perhaps has mentioned that they have a food insecurity, or perhaps that they have a family and need additional support services, whether it's cash or childcare or something along those lines. So if that's the case, please direct your customer to the DSS main website, which is dss.sc.gov, and they would click on this portion right here where it says assistance programs, and it will then walk you through the steps for application. And there's even, as you see there, a calculator, so you can kind of determine if somebody might be eligible without actually submitting the final application. So after all of that, we've run through quite a bit of information in a very short period of time, but we did that specifically so that we allowed enough time for questions and answers. We're happy to answer any questions that you have today about the programs that we've mentioned, but we've also wanted to share our direct contact information should you have any questions after the presentation today. You can obviously email us using the email addresses that you see there on your screen. But again, we're happy to answer any questions if you have any right now.
Don't be shy, guys. This is the time to get your questions out there. You can unmute yourself, or you can use the chat feature where you can type it in the chat and I'll be happy to read it out for you.
Hi, good morning. Trident Literacy. This is for Deborah. So, Deborah, when you were mentioning about, can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay, something just popped up. When you were mentioning about the technology, the tablets that can be used, especially for us, being adult ed, is there a time frame or limit to how long they have to participate with us to get a tablet? Or is that something that they can come to the program already prepared to get their schoolwork and studies in an upward bound motion?
Okay, so there's actually two answers to your question. Okay.
Okay.
Um, if a client is going to be coming to your program and they're going to be doing online training, we can get them a tablet right away, because we want to make sure that they're ready to to take on the courses and have everything they need, and that is a part of the support services that we provide. So I hope I'm answering your question. So you want to know if they can get the tablet
Yes.
right away. We don't
Yes.
basically have a time limit. We just need to know that that is what they need in
Okay.
order to participate in the program.
Perfect. Perfect answer. Thank you so much.
You-
There's another question in the chat. An individual says, can someone receive the child care assistance if they need quiet time to work from home on college courses?
And that is perhaps one of the most unique and excellent questions that could have been asked. And the answer is, I do not know. The child care eligibility is actually determined by someone in an area completely separate from our division. So I don't want to say 100%, but I believe that the answer to that question is yes, so long as the person has qualified for TANF. There's a series of eligibility requirements. The first being the person, obviously has children, a child or children, and that they meet the financial requirements. But I believe the answer is yes. And I see the name is Deirdre Cato. If I could, I'll get your email address and I'll ask that question of our childcare division and we'll get back to you with the response, okay?
So I will say this, Deidre, we don't have access to your email, but how about this? Would you please email Tammy James? Her email is on the screen right there. And so we can ensure there isn't any loose ends here, that you do get the answer that you need. It's tamra.james@dss.sc.gov. Next question is, what is the maximum annual income for someone to earn to be considered ineligible? I have a student who is a single mother and works as a server. She needs childcare assistance to continue her studies as well as having food insecurity.
Sure. Another really great question. And no one in our division actually determines the eligibility for SNAP or TANF. Once they are determined to be eligible, then they come to our area, and that's when we start providing the employment services. So again, I hate to tell you that I don't want to answer you incorrectly, but I do not know the amount. What I would say is I would absolutely, considering the circumstances that you've described, encourage that individual to go online and apply for both SNAP and TANF to see if they could be eligible for services. And as Deborah mentioned, childcare has historically always been provided to our TANF recipients, but childcare has recently been added to the SNAP ENT support services. So you're eligible for, once you get into one of those programs, you're eligible for childcare under both. And it would just be, determined based on the income level, whether the person was eligible for TANF and SNAP or just SNAP. So I would encourage them to go on and apply anyway, just to see if there's food insecurity, then obviously we want to make sure that we can assist there. So please direct that person to go ahead and apply.
This may be another question in which you might not have the eligibility specifics, like documents and things along those lines, but it states, you stated that a client should receive TANF if they had specific barriers such as being involved in domestic violence, mental health, etc. How do you identify those barriers? I believe those are definitely barriers that affect so many aspects of a client's life and productivity.
Absolutely, and I definitely agree. What we typically do is after a person is determined eligible for TANF based on their income, they get into the TANF program, they're assigned to one of our employees, and that employee goes through a pretty involved assessment, whether it's a TANF employee or excuse me, a TANF client or a SNAP ENT client. They go through a pretty involved assessment. And through that assessment, that's when we determine whether there's one of those other barriers. Under the TANF program, it's a much lengthier assessment where it gets into all the questions about mental health, employment, domestic violence, substance abuse, all of that. And once one of those issues is identified, that's when we start to either refer to a subsequent provider or to try to determine what the next steps would be to remediate one of those barriers.
An additional question is, can a previous client rejoin the program?
For SNAP ENT, absolutely. For TANF, most likely, but it would depend on how many months of TANF the participant has already received. So do you recall I mentioned earlier that TANF is a time-limited program, so you can only receive TANF in South Carolina for 2 years, 24 months out of a 10-year period. So that's going way too deep if I try to explain how that's calculated, but just understand that if the person is eligible and they reapply, then they could certainly get the services. So I would encourage them to reapply as well.
Yeah.
Ms. Jenkins, know that we will, the question is, will we have access to the presentation to share with all staff partners? I will be sending that out along with a link to the recording in the next few business days. So I will send it to the same individuals that originally received the notification of this. That includes operators, and so hopefully they will, disseminate that within their network. As workforce consultants, we get individuals and referred them, let's see, hold on one second, and referred them to DSS. What about individuals being referred to us at SC Works Services? We do have programs such as Federal Bonding Program. That was an additional question from Miss Bellamy Gertrude.
So sure, I mean, we refer people to the services of partner programs in the SC Work Centers all the time. I think that's what you're asking, but our workforce consultants kind of work in the same manner that you do, just they're working with assigned individuals. And I don't want to go through how it's different between different organizations here, but yeah, I mean, we refer people all the time through the SC Work Centers to our partner organizations.
Mike Butler asked, what factors determine the on-the-job training reimbursement rate, and what is the average duration of your contracts, and what is the expected outcome upon completion?
So that answer is actually twofold. So on the TANF end, I'll answer for TANF and then I'll ask Deborah to answer for SNAP. So on the TANF side, we have a fixed 50% reimbursement rate for TANF OJT. The average duration is usually a couple of months, but we can go up to 6 months. And then the expected outcome, is obviously employment and a long-term employment. I'm going to ask Deborah to respond when it comes to OJT under SNAP.
Okay, so under the SNAP OJT program, we are going to be able to reimburse up to 80% of the cost for that training, and we call it a training cost. And that all depends on how long it will take for an individual to learn the specific job that they have already been hired on. So the difference with the thing that I'm saying about SNAP is that we expect our clients to be hired in a position um, under our contract, and we will pay up to, as I said, 80% of the training costs, and that is determined about the hourly wage that the individuals receive for that particular position. Okay. And the outcome is that after the training and they are successful, that they remain in that position.
Thank you so much. Additional question, where can we find a list of SNAP regional coordinators? That's from a Miss Patricia Armfield.
Sure. If you would actually also send me an email and I'll have your email then and I can shoot that back to you. Or I can give that to Jackie and she can send it out to everyone. But yeah, that list is ever changing, of course. So we will send you one that's current as of right now, but understand that it may change later on.
I'll be happy to send that out, Tammy.
Sure. And then another thing to keep in mind too is if you want to know who your regional SNAP person is to contact, you can also send an email to the SNAP to Work email address that's in the slideshow that you'll receive.
Yes.
Stephanie Ferguson asks, if a SNAP recipient is dually enrolled in WIOA and we provide tuition assistance, but they are in need of assistance with transportation, how long is the process for them to be able to receive this transportation assistance, and how is it dispersed, and how often will they receive it?
Okay. So again, that's we're going to answer 2 different ways here. Under TANF, if they're dually enrolled, they could receive it every month. They would be eligible for that transportation support services from when they begin participating, whether that's through the tuition program, or through the schooling that they're doing through WIOA, or if that is after. But either way, they could receive that transportation support services pretty quickly. It's dispersed as a additional allotment on their ePay card. Their ePay card is their debit card that they receive to obtain and receive their cash assistance. So again, that's monthly. I think I answered that already. I'm going to ask Deborah to respond for SNAP ENT.
Okay, so for SNAP ENT participants who are duly enrolled with WIOA, they receive it right away. There is not really quickly, because we want them to be able to participate. So we try to give it within 24 hours of the request, and that's for transportation. And they do receive it monthly while they are participating in the training program.
Thank you, Deborah. Similar question, if a recipient is enrolled in other training programs for tuition and books assistance, would they also receive training assistance through SNAP ENT?
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
I'm sorry, I was a little fast with that one. If a recipient is enrolled in other training programs for tuition and books assistance, would they also receive training assistance through SNAP ENT?
They would have to be enrolled in the SNAP ENT program. And I think I'm answering your question. Any support services that we provide.
I think you did. I think we want to make sure that we're clarifying here. If someone is receiving tuition assistance and books assistance from WIOA, for example, SNAP ENT wouldn't come along and pay the same thing. But we could provide other support services for that same participant, just not the same support services or the same services that they're already receiving through WIOA in that example, if that makes sense. I want to make sure that we're clear there that we're not going to double pay for something that's already being provided under another program. But one of the reasons why we wanted to do this presentation is so that you understood that if you're serving, in your example, if you're providing tuition and books assistance for a participant that's receiving SNAP, they can come into the SNAP ENT program and have other support services that are also available to assist them. So just kind of a way that we can provide wraparound services to participants. Again, as I mentioned earlier, that you're likely already serving, and we can get additional assistance for him or her as they're going through whatever programming they're pursuing.
Yes.
I hope we've answered your question.
All right. Is driver's education training available for SNAP ENT participants?
No, that is not something that we provide at this time. Basically, in the presentation, I showed you the components that we are able to pay for. Education, something that leads directly to a job. I know that driving is something that a lot of our clients need, but it's just not something that's allowable under ENT at this time.
Thank you, Deborah. Are there any other questions? I feel like we're on a roll here. If you would, just unmute yourself and you can ask your question. If you're unable to unmute yourself, I believe that's a Julie Myers. Julie, do you have a question for us?
I was sort of thinking that an example of what the previous person was asking about the training. So if WIOA was paying for the CNA program, Snappy and once they finish the CNA program, Snappy and T could do a training, not the same time, but say if one program finished, Snappy and T then could do like say maybe phlebotomy, something like that, things that could go hand in hand. And so that would maybe be an example of what the other person was asking. So they both could get training, but that kind of complement each other. Is that
Kind of
right?
like stackable training is what you're
Yes,
saying.
yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we believe in pathways. We believe that if you do a CNA, and if you can gain, if your wages can go up by you going to the next step, adding phlebotomy or even office medical assistant, medical officer, or pharmaceutical, whatever it is, yes, we would be able to do that.
Good question. For elaboration, I guess, Julie. Thank you.
Looks like Mike Butler has asked, Mike is really interested in OJT right now. Looks like he's asked, what type of businesses does your OJT program support and what is the minimum wage expectations? So for TANF, Mike, the answer is any business, any employer that is not in kind of a default situation with the state, whether that's through revenue or any other state agency. So any business will support under TANF, and the minimum wage expectation under TANF, that's kind of a loaded question. The minimum wage requirement, of course, is minimum wage. What we are targeting, of course, is the wages that would have a family that's receiving TANF to be self-sufficient. So that would change depending on the size of the family. If it was a two-person household, you know, $12 an hour, $13 an hour, it would make them no longer eligible for TANF. It might make them continuing to be eligible for SNAP. So it kind of depends on the family dynamics there with what the minimum wage expectation would be. I hope that answers your question under TANF. For SNAP, again, a business that's in good standing with the state is obviously, you know, okay to be enrolled in that program. The minimum wage expectation for SNAP, Deborah, correct me if I'm wrong, we were looking at $12 an hour or above. We want to make sure that we are getting as close to that kind of highly talked about $15 an hour wage that you've heard so much in the media about. But for right now, $12 an hour is the minimum for SNAP ENT's OJT program. I hope that answers your questions, Mike. Just shoot me an email if you have any more questions after today, or you can continue to ask them here if you want to.
Thanks, Mike. I think he's focused on that state plan priority of work-based learning.
That's
so
right. That's right.
I love those questions, Mike. Bridget Coates is asking, would it be possible to share the specifics of DSS's supportive services policy? I imagine that would be, you know, to really dig into the opportunity to braid services here.
Sure. Yes. Would it be possible? Yes. Is it going to be easy? Probably not as easy as you would think it would be, because those policies are in two separate locations, but we can get that kind of collected for you and get that sent to you.
Thank you. Any other questions, guys?
And Ms. Coates, if you would also please shoot me an email, I'll get that information to you as quickly as I can, but I want to make sure I have your email address so that I can get that to you.
All right. All right. Any other questions, guys? If that is all, I am going to steal a moment. Oh, here you go. Does your website provide a chart of income guidelines based on family size in order to determine eligibility?
So great question. Our website, I'm pretty sure, does not have that information, but if you go to the website, you can see the link on how to apply. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a calculator there that you can kind of loosely put in what your income is to determine, and family size to determine if you may be eligible for services. So I would encourage you or whoever is needing those services to go to the website and click on the how to apply button, and it'll walk you through the calculator option. So you're actually not submitting a full application for either SNAP or TANF benefits, but you are seeing if you could be eligible. And I should also mention too that when you go to the website to do an application for SNAP or TANF, you can apply for both at the same time. It's not two separate applications. You just indicate which one or both if you're interested in both programs. And then I see Jackie, somebody else has their hand raised.
Feel free to unmute yourself. Reza Gardner?
Hi, Risa Gardner, workforce specialist with SC Works. Yeah, just want to bring up like a quick question. We do have a resource center here, and after they
We cannot hear you, Reza.
are they hello?
We
Okay.
we didn't hear you after you said a resource center. So if you want to just repeat your last statement.
Um, After the eligibility question or the assessment, are they going to have an instant result? I'm just curious.
I believe if you go and do the calculator online, that is an instant result. The application process is
Okay.
not an instant result. That would require an interview with the eligibility specialist to determine the specifics of a family's eligibility or an individual's eligibility, depending on what they're applying for.
All right, absolutely. And it doesn't matter whether SNAP or TANF.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Uh-huh. Thank you.
All right. Are there any more questions? All right.
Okay.
I think that may be all for today. Thank you so much, Tammy and Deborah, for sharing about the SNAP ENT program. Just represents another tool in the toolkit. That's the SC Work system. Also would like to thank the audience for your participation this morning in the partner series, and I hope that you can consider attending the overviews to come. Before we jump off this meeting today, I just want to take a minute to insert a shameless plug for the SC Work Success page. I wanted to get that in while we had everyone's attention. So I'm going to share my screen for just a moment so that you guys see this awesome new page. It's called SC Work Success. It's on the scworks.org website. And it's a page that the sole purpose is to recognize the achievements and innovation of SC Works professionals and the services across the state in both video and narrative form. You can share the success stories about customers, other employees, so you can brag on your coworkers and also share about promising practices. There's even an option for job seekers and employers to share about their success stories or experiences with the SC Work system. It's in both narrative and video format, and it's just simply, clicking on this link, and then you would be able to fill out just a short little survey, and then someone from our communications department will follow up with you and see how they can best assist you in the final format of the success story that would be available for public consumption on the website. And so I hope you guys consider that. All of the individuals in this call being part of the SC Work system, we want to highlight the work that you're doing. And it's just such an uplifting opportunity. So with that, that's all I have for today. Tamara and Deborah, thank you again. And we look forward to having everyone on this call for the next partner series opportunity featuring adult education in the final quarter of this program year. So thank you all again. And that will conclude the meeting today.